The NFL Draft is getting closer. And we just might know what your team will do. Game Day Garage presents The Prospect Files with Ryan Horvat.
Little impromptu Prospect Files with myself, Ryan Horvat. Just got done recording a podcast right before I taped this with PJ Glasser talking college basketball. So usually this time of the year, and I am focused on the NFL draft, although there's a lot of other things going on now that I'm not doing the show every single night, BetMGM tonight. But last weekend, the weekend before that, I've been super focused on college basketball and making some money. But NFL draft props finally released now, depending what state you're in. You could shop around. I'm looking right now actually at BetMGM. BetMGM has these available here in Maryland. So I'm going to play a couple of these. And if you missed the last podcast, I'm pretty high on the Tennessee Titans coming into this season. And I didn't think I would be because Robert Saleh, I think he's a very good defensive coordinator, as we saw last year with San Francisco and as we saw in his previous tenure with the 49ers under Kyle Shanahan as a defensive coordinator. The guy knows defense. I think he could coach defense. I think he could motivate. We saw that this year. The Niners were all beat up on the defensive side of the ball, and they really, overperformed really on the defensive side of the ball. They weren't a top 5, top 10 defense or anything like that, but they make a run in the playoffs. And if they had a healthy Nick Bosa, and if they had a healthy Fred Warner, their two best players on the defensive side of the ball, how much better is that defense? And they probably make a run to at least the NFC Championship game, I would think, with those two guys healthy. But it was a disaster with the Jets for Robert Saleh. But it's most likely going to be a disaster for Aaron Glenn and for whoever comes after Aaron Glenn. I think the Jets, unfortunately, might be cursed. I learned that when my guy, Aaron Rodgers, went there and only lasted 3 snaps year one with them. Anyway, so I'm pretty high on the Titans. They knock it out of the park with their offensive coordinator hire, in my opinion. Brian Daboll, again, is he an NFL head coach? I'm not quite sure. It didn't work out with the Giants, although he did take a team with Daniel Jones to the playoffs, and they won a playoff game, actually, and they won double-digit games. So I'm high on Tennessee because you have Brian Daboll with a young quarterback, Cam Ward. We saw what he did with a young quarterback in Daniel Jones, went to the playoffs, and before that as an OC in Buffalo. I love the play calls, and I love what he did with Josh Allen. As good as Josh Allen is right now, he's a top 3 quarterback. Everybody didn't know that. Remember, there was a lot of people that were confused when Buffalo selected Josh Allen. He wasn't very accurate. He had a rocket for an arm, and he was a hell of an athlete. He's built like a linebacker, but he wasn't the most accurate quarterback, and he works with Brian Daboll. And now he's Josh Allen. So I think Cam Ward's going to take that year 2 leap. What does Tennessee need? They need some offensive firepower. So right now, I talked about this on the last podcast. I think Jeremiah Love is the best running back in this class, obviously. I think he's the best overall player, right? Like, I love Reuben Bain Jr. If we're talking wide receivers, I love Carnell Tate, but I think Jeremiah Love's the best player. And it's not just because I'm a Notre Dame fan. You saw the 40-yard dash. You saw what he did at the combine. You saw what he did at Notre Dame, leaping over guys, rushing for over 1,200 yards. He's minus 150, so not the best price, but not the worst price to go to the Tennessee Titans. Now, if you want to look at some other teams that need some offensive firepower in their backfield, the Washington Commanders, they have a lot of needs. They are better than 2-1 right now, plus 220 over at BetMGM to take Jeremiah Love. The Giants, they're 4-1. That wouldn't make a whole lot of sense, although Cam Scadaboo's out there doing podcasts talking about how he doesn't believe that CTE is a real thing, and he is coming off an injury, so maybe you want a loaded backfield. They're 4-1. The Arizona Cardinals are 6-1. The Cardinals have no freaking clue what they're doing. The Vikings, 15-1. Anyway, I'm just going to lay it, minus 150. The Tennessee Titans, I'm going to bet this right now. I would share the screen, but then you guys would see my login information. I'm going to go Tennessee, minus 150, though, to draft Jeremiah Love. I think that that's the perfect fit. If you're looking at the latest Daniel Jeremiah mock draft, he also has Love going to the Tennessee Titans, I believe. I should probably double check that because I actually don't know that for sure. Yes, he does. And I think that pick would make perfect sense. They're sitting there at number 4. They've spent a lot of money on the defensive side of the ball in free agency. Now you need some help for Cam Ward and Brian Daboll. So let's go Jeremiah Love minus 150, pick number 4 for the Tennessee Titans. Team to draft Jeremiah Love. That's where you would find this, by the way, if you do want to tell me. But again, there's some other good options. The Commanders are plus 220. All right. Here's another one that I'm looking for. Let's go to team picks, which again, I'm on BetMGM right now. Position of first drafted player, Los Angeles Rams. That's what I'm looking for. All right, here are the Rams. They're plus 150 to go wide receiver. I like this bet right here. I was hoping for 2 to 1. I'm going to shop around. They're sitting there at pick number 13. So if Carnell Tate is the first receiver taken, he's probably off the board when we get to pick 11, pick 12 here. Rams are sitting at number 13. Do they look to move up? We saw the report from Ian Rappaport that they were in trade discussions for A.J. Brown. So I think they're most likely going wide receiver. You're going to give Matthew Stafford some help. They could take Mekhi Lemon if he's there, perfect slot receiver, although I have a bet that I'm going to place with him if it's available in a second. So I'm hoping that maybe Carnell Tate falls to him. But I do think at plus 150, decent little bet right now. I'm going to go with the Rams to take a wide receiver. Some other options, Rams to go offensive line, plus 240. The reason that that's sitting there at that price, well, you can't have Matthew Stafford die on the field. He's not getting any younger. People thought that there was a good chance that he was going to retire. He's not going to do that after winning league MVP. I know they're loaded at the wide receiver position. You have Puka Nacua. You have, Devontae Adams last year was excellent, but he was 32 years old. So I think getting that number 2 receiver, that slot receiver, like a Carnell Tate, who could play on the outside, or like, Lemon or any of these other guys, I think would make a ton of sense. So I like the Rams at plus 150 to go receiver. But again, I would understand them going lineman plus 240, tight end 6 to 1, defensive line plus 850, safety 8 to 1, quarterback. They're not going to do that. That's sitting there at 12 to 1. So I really like that bet. Let's see what else we got. Again, I'm just looking at this for the first time. The Kansas City Chiefs. Here we go. Position of first drafted player for the Kansas City Chiefs. Defensive line, edge rusher is plus 275. Makes sense. I mean, Mahomes got hurt last year late. They need some help at the wide receiver position. They needed some help in the backfield. They go out there and they pay Kenneth Walker. So they're not going to go running back. That probably would have been plus 275, 3 to 1, but now it's all the way down. It's actually off the board for them to go running back. On the screen right now that I'm looking at over at BetMGM. But position of first drafted player, they're not going to go running back most likely because they pay money for Kenneth Walker. They could go wide receiver. That's sitting there right now, plus 300. But defensive line, edge rusher makes a ton of sense at plus 275 because that defense last year just was not your typical Steve Spagnuolo defense, which is why, again, the Kansas City Chiefs did not make the playoffs. But they're at number 9, which is crazy to see. The Chiefs, who every single year they're sitting there in at least the AFC Championship game, but they're sitting there right now, pick number 9. I'm going to stay away from the edge rusher price. I don't like that. Let me look at offensive line, plus 280. That's what I'm going to bet here for the Kansas City Chiefs. You got Mahomes killed last year. He tore his ACL. The year before that, they make a run to the Super Bowl and they lose to the Philadelphia Eagles because Mahomes was pressured on, 75% of his dropbacks. The Chiefs, they could go out there and they could take a wide receiver. But I don't think you're taking a wide receiver in this draft top 10 if you're Kansas City. You need a replacement for Travis Kelce eventually, but I don't think you're taking a tight end, again, top 10. So it's crazy to see them picking top 10. Edge rusher's the favorite. At plus 280, I'm going to go offensive line. They got to fix up that offensive line. I haven't loved any of these moves so far this offseason. Eventually, Mahomes is going to be back from his torn ACL. Most important player in all of football? Question mark. Got to protect the guy, make sure he doesn't die. Chiefs to take an offensive lineman, plus 280. All right, we'll hit on some more of these in the next podcast, again, because I'm kind of just throwing this all out there right now. I planned on doing a mock draft really quick, but then I saw these up on the board. First wide receiver drafted. That's where I wanted to go next. Carnell Tate makes a ton of sense. He's minus 300. Got to lay $3 there. I'm going to stay away from that one. Jordan Tyson, plus 250. I'm going to stay away from that one. I'm going to go with Mekhi Lemon. It's 6-1. Sure, maybe he bombed all of these interviews. I know he's a slot receiver, but again, even if the Rams have to move up to get him, I think that would be a good landing spot. Also, who are some other teams that need wide receivers? The Browns, they need a little bit of everything. I saw in the latest Daniel Jeremiah mock draft, he had the Browns going out and taking Carnell Tate. I don't know, though. I think if you're Cleveland, you got to get an offensive tackle at number 6, top 10 pick. Whoever your quarterback's eventually going to be. I don't know if it's going to be Shedeur Sanders, but you got to protect your starting quarterback. So I like Lemon, 6-1. First wide receiver off the board. I'm looking at it right now at BetMGM. I'll bet $100 on this. I know he's only 5'11", 195 pounds. So he is a slot receiver, but look what he did. As a sophomore, he had 764 yards out of the slot, 3 touchdowns, 52 receptions. And then last year in USC's offense, he was the number 1 guy. 79 grabs, 1,100 receiving yards, 1,156 to be exact, 13 total touchdowns, 11 receiving. He also had 2 rushing touchdowns in 12 games. So he could be that gadget guy, that weapon. What do the Commanders need? Well, a lot of things for Jaden Daniels. They need to protect him, but they need some weapons. And I really like Lemon. He's my favorite receiver in this draft. Carnell Tate makes a ton of sense, and he's an Ohio State wide receiver. If you need a wide receiver in any draft, you go with the Ohio State kid. That's wide receiver you. But I was a little surprised to see this price sitting there. So 6-1, give me Lemon to be the first receiver drafted. Other than that, you got Denzel Boston. He's 30-1. Omar Cooper Jr., 50-1. None of those guys are going number 1. It's Tate minus 300, Jordan Tyson plus 250, Mekhi Lemon is 6-1. As I look, they just took first offensive lineman drafted off the board. I was going to stay away from that market anyway. I did see Caden Proctor was 66-1. He's not going to be the first lineman selected, but pizza money bet I might throw it there anyway. That's all that they got there. Round specials, total running backs drafted in round 1. The over 1.5 is 5-1. We already know Jeremiah Love is going in the first round, not Daniel Jeremiah. But I don't know that we get a second running back. The under, though, is minus 900, so nothing there for me. Total wide receivers drafted in first round. The over is 2-1. The under is minus 275. Nothing there for me. Total quarterbacks drafted in round 1. I will bet this. It's minus 220, so I know it's not for everybody, but I'm going to go over 1.5 quarterbacks being selected round 1. We already know Fernando Mendoza is going number 1 overall to the Raiders. We know that for sure. And I know it's the hot topic today because Dan Orlovsky and Ty Simpson have the same agency. And Dan's saying that he thinks that Ty Simpson is the better prospect than Fernando Mendoza. And I talked about this on the last podcast. I think Mendoza's the safe pick. He could make every single throw. He could hit the deep ball. He could push the ball down the field. He's excellent. I didn't understand Dan saying what big games did he play in. They won the national championship. But I also like Ty Simpson. Ty Simpson was on fire the first 7-8 weeks of the season. And then he started to struggle after the Oklahoma game and against Georgia because Alabama's offensive line, other than Caden Proctor, wasn't your typical Alabama offensive line. And Ty Simpson, they were just pressuring the hell out of him. A lot of young quarterbacks struggle under pressure. A lot of pro quarterbacks struggle when they're under pressure. Look at Jared Goff. I think Ty Simpson could be Jared Goff. Look at Kirk Cousins. So I could see 2 quarterbacks going here round 1, even though the price is over minus 200. I'm going to bet the over 1.5. I think Mendoza goes round 1, and I think Ty Simpson goes round 1. So there we go. We got a couple bets. We're going to go Lemon to be the first wide receiver selected in this draft, 6-1. Ultimate gadget guy, 2 rushing touchdowns, 11 receiving touchdowns. Perfect prospect coming out of USC. I know that there's some reports that the interviews didn't go very well. I don't care. He's 6-1. Most likely doesn't hit, but it's 6-1. I'll take a little shot there. We're going to go over 1.5 quarterbacks selected round one in English, minus 220. I like Jeremiah Love to be drafted by the Tennessee Titans. That's minus 150. We like that one. And yeah, we're gonna start right there, and I'll take a look overnight. We'll do another one of these maybe tomorrow or the next day, and we'll get some draft bets. Best time of the year, and also opening day, Major League Baseball. Doesn't get much better this week. Go Cubs! Hell yeah!